Welcome to my channel. My name is Jennifer. If you are new here, hello and welcome. I love to see there are people seeking positive messages, positive contents. I haven't posted in a long time. This is because life has happened, life is consistently changing, especially after the pandemic started. Just a lot of things happened and changed in my life, all for the better. But just, how it gets very busy sometimes. So today, I do have a message for you guys. I want to begin by telling you a story. This story is the story of Joseph. And there are certain details that I will leave out only for the sake of, the length of the video. The story comes from the Bible, and it is the story of Joseph. Some of you may be familiar with it. And with this, I just want to say, this is not about preaching or whatever. It's just a message that I felt like it was near and dear to my heart, because sometimes I feel like Joseph. So the story of Joseph is this. Joseph was born to Rachel and Jacob. Jacob had many wives, but of all his children, he favored Joseph because Joseph was conceived in their old age. So it was kind of like a wow, my legacy will continue and there's another one on the way kind of a thing. So because of the favor that Joseph had on his life, his siblings were very jealous of him. And one day his brothers were tending to sheep in the fields, but they were out in another place. You had to go to the field. It wasn't like their house was in the middle of the field, So Jacob tells Joseph, please go and get your brothers, for it's getting late and they should come home now. So when they see Joseph walking in his robe, looking nice, and they see him walking up to them, they all start plotting like, hey guys, I think we should kill him. I think we should get rid of this guy because why is he favorite? Why? So they started planning and scheming like, okay, we're going to kill this guy. So they beat him up. They rip his clothes, his beautiful robe. They take it off of him. And one of his brothers, Reuben, comes. Reuben goes, why don't, instead of killing him, let's just throw him in the cistern, which is right there. And they go, okay, it's empty. We could throw him in there and it'll be great because he'll probably die anyways. And we don't have to get our hands dirty. See men coming from the distance with cattle. And one of them goes, oh, I know. Why don't we just sell him to those merchants? They're traders. We'll sell him. So they sold Joseph to those men for, money. And they go and they kill a goat and they put this goat's blood on Joseph's robes and give it to their father Jacob and say, look, while we were out there, we found this, and Joseph must have been killed by a wild, ravenous animal. Life, right? It sucks, doesn't it? And their father Jacob was so distraught by this. He mourned so much. He was so sad. So Joseph ends up being sold to one of the top security guards of the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh was in charge of Egypt. So he ends up in the Pharaoh's house, and the Pharaoh starts seeing that everything Joseph touched was successful. It prospered. It was blessed. It was good. And he was like, if you got that much pizzazz in your hands where everything you touch is blessed, then I'm going to just put you in charge of everything. Because if you're prospering and I have you working in my home, then all my stuff is going to prosper. So we're going to get you to be in charge of everything. So Pharaoh starts to trust him, and everything is like he's gaining favor, right? The favor is following him. So then Pharaoh's wife is like feeling a void. Okay? Feeling a void. And she says, it looks like Joseph could kind of He's looking kind of good. Maybe he could fill my void. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean, catching what I'm throwing out there. So she starts trying to seduce him. She's like, "Oh, Joseph, hi," you know? And Joseph's like, "Ew, like, get away from me," you know? Because Pharaoh has trusted me with so much. How could I betray him by sleeping with his wife? If he wanted me to sleep with his wife, he would have told me sleep with my wife. But he ain't say that, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to mess this up. So Pharaoh's wife continues to pursue and pursue and pursue. And he keeps like, no, get away from me. To the point that he's like, if she's in a room, he walks out. He's like, no way. Not today. So at some point, they end up in a room together. Like in the same area. It's not like they're in a bedroom, you know. No, it was like in the same area in the palace. And she tries to press her body against his, and she's trying to seduce him, and he gets freaked out, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So he literally flees, like he runs away. And as he runs away, he didn't realize that she took a hold of a piece of his garment and she kept it. Like, so he ran and she grabbed it and she kept it. And then she screamed. And when she screamed, all the guards came and they're like, what's going on? What's happening? And she says, Joseph tried to rape me. Joseph tried to rape me. Look, I have his garment here because he just left. He ran. When I screamed, he ran away. He tried to rape me. Look at that guy, bozo. So then they're like, oh my God, what's happening? Pharaoh is like, dang, this sucks. Okay, so I have to put you in jail, buddy. Like, this sucks. So he puts him in jail. Then in jail, he continues to have favor. The guards favor him. And at some point when he was in jail, two gentlemen come that were serving the Pharaoh at some point, which I'm not recalling their position. One of them was the one who served his cups and stuff like that. And the other one I can't remember. Forgive me for that. But they had dreams. And they were talking about it. Like, I had these dreams. I don't know. And the one who served the cups, you know, spoke to Joseph, and Joseph said, well, I can interpret your dream. He said, okay. So I had this dream, and he shares this very interesting dream with him, and he says, okay, this is what it means, A, B, and C. And it's going to work out for you. He says the Pharaoh is going to bring you back in. You're going to continue to serve the cups, and everything's going to be well for you and whatever. Then the second guy said, wow, he got such a positive interpretation of his dream. Maybe I should tell him my dream. He tells him his dream. And he says, wow, that sucks. Yeah, it's not going to work out for you. Actually, they're going to kill you. And it's not going to work out. He's like, oh my God. But the first guy who got the good interpretation, who was going to gain trust again and would be allowed back into the palace to work again, was Joseph told him, as I interpret your dream, promise me, and when you get back out there, please remember me and tell the Pharaoh about me. Remind him of me. So perhaps that maybe one day I could be liberated from jail. So the guy, he's back out there serving cups, living his life. Totally forgets about Joseph. Like, just totally forgets. But then 2 years pass, and the Pharaoh has a dream. And the dream is something like, he had a dream with 7 big old fat cows. And they're walking and they're living their best life. And then out of the waters came out 7 really skinny cows. And they ate the fat cows. But even though they ate the fat cows, they still continued to be very skinny and didn't have strength or anything. So when Pharaoh woke up, he was very bothered by this dream. And he goes, man, like, I've never seen an animal so skinny and dry like that. So the man who had his dream interpreted told him, hey, look, I forgot to tell you this, but I know who could interpret your dream. Remember Joseph? Yeah, when I went to jail, remember when we had that situation that we don't want to talk about no more? Remember when I went to jail? But now we trust each other. Remember that? And Pharaoh's like, yeah. So he goes, well, when I was down there, I had a dream, and Joseph interpreted it accurately. He told me that I would be back up here and that everything was going to be okay. And so Pharaoh says, oh my God, okay, so after Pharaoh tried to tell the magicians and different people in his space to try to interpret it, nobody could. So he said, bring up Joseph. And Joseph interpreted the dream. And he said the dream means that you will have 7 years of wealth, but then after that will be followed with 7 years of famine. And you have to start pulling food from the people, like, I don't remember the exact number, but it's like a quarter of everybody's stuff, and bring it in. So then when the 7 years of famine come, you can distribute it accordingly so your people will still live and be good. So Pharaoh is like, wow. He was so pleased with this. He was so grateful that he brought Joseph back into the palace and made him the mayor and said, I have the throne, but I will be the only one above you. You govern. You are the mayor here in Egypt. So Joseph is now pretty much in charge. It's a pretty big deal. And he immediately has him clothed in fine linen and has him eating foods of kings and queens. And he's like living his best life. So now we're fast forwarding. Life is going on. His family is in Canaan. I don't know if I'm saying that right, so please forgive me. Canaan or Canaan. It's one of those. And they start feeling the effects of the famine in their area. So their father is like, look, y'all gotta go to Egypt. I heard in Egypt they have food. Go buy us some food or we're gonna starve and die. So, and when they go, they bow down to the king and they didn't recognize him. But Joseph recognized his brothers. And long story short, they figure out that it's Joseph. Joseph plays a couple tricks here and there, has them come back and forth, and then he reveals himself to them and says, I am Joseph. I am the brother that you sold into slavery, and now I'm here. And one of the things was that they felt terrible. They were like, yo, oh my God, like, we're gonna die. We're going to hell for this. Like, this is the worst thing we could have did. We sold them into slavery. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? And they were so burdened by what they did because they were afraid that now that Joseph was in power, he was gonna harm them. And Joseph, this was the most important part. This is the whole point of the story here. Joseph says to them, you tried to do something bad to me, but the whole time it was God doing something good, because my purpose was to help ration the food during the famine to save all these families and all these livestock. So what you did, you thought it was for bad, but God was with me the whole time. And my whole point of this story is to say that there are so many points in our life where we feel like, why is this happening to us? And why is my life this way? What I realize is that out of suffering is born purpose. And we sometimes think that suffering sucks. And we think this is the worst thing. Why can't God just fix it? But we have to remember that there are laws to this realm, right? There are many different realms. And things work differently in all those realms, but there are laws in this realm. And the laws are, one of them is that you cannot skip the story. Like, you can't skip certain parts of the story. It has to play out in a certain way. Because if we don't understand the origin story and we don't get to see the middle part of the story, the climax, then how are we ever going to fully understand or receive the impact of the ending of the story? Like when a woman gives birth, it's painful. It hurts, right? I don't know what that's like, but I heard it sucks and it hurts a lot. But when that child comes out, it is this beautiful experience of feeling love, like a love that I heard people don't fully get to experience unless you're like a mother, And when that thing starts to be its own thing, right? When that child becomes its own thing, it begins a life of its own. And it impacts in its own way. And so my point with that is when a mother is pregnant, or even sometimes before, right? When it's planned, they're thinking of their child. They're praying for their children. They're moving. They're moving within themselves to prepare their body, to prepare their spirit, to prepare their mind. And so with that being said, is when you are born, I truly believe that there is a purpose, there is a thought, there is a plan, there is a process for your life. There is something for you. And although you may not fully understand it and know what it means or what it entails, that doesn't mean that the Creator isn't thinking about you. And as you're going through your life, there are moments that you don't forget. But when you get to that place of, and you're looking back and you go, oh my God, it all makes sense now. And you start to see how your purpose is unfolding. How, because I was sick, it pushed me in the direction of healing, and now I'm healing millions of people. Because I was so angry, it pushed me in the direction to pursue peace, to be slow to anger. Because I had anxiety, I pursued peace. And now I'm helping all these people. Because I was hungry, I go out and feed the homeless, right? Because I had, whatever it is, right? There's so many people that start foundations because of the suffering they went through, or because of somebody they love that suffered a certain way. It's that thing that is born from you. It's almost like an initiation, right? A lot of mothers say when they give birth, the pain that they receive during labor is the initiation into motherhood. And it's almost like a rites of passage. It's the suffering that you go through in your life allows for you to step into your purpose. And we have to remember that in purpose, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden things are going to stop. It doesn't mean that, I'm in my purpose and it's over. Because purpose has so many different faces to it. And as your story, right? I remember when I used to go to church in Brooklyn, they'd be like, the Book of Jen. And I'm like, the Book of Jen? I was younger. I didn't understand. What's the Book of Jen going to say? But now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, wow. Right? My story isn't over, and it's not where I want it to be. Like, I know there's so much I have to do, but so far where I'm at in my life, the breakthroughs and the journey and the dreams and the visions and the crying and the tears and the suffering and the being in the valley and being on the mountaintop moments, it's all there, and I'm experiencing it. And so I know that we all are, because that's life. Nobody can have the beauty of their purpose and fully experience it and step into it without being fully in their suffering at some point. Nobody is spared from that. And I know that there are so many of us that go through so many trials and tribulations, whether it's with your family, whether you feel like you're the only one walking to the beat of the drum that you hear, whatever it may be, just know that there is a purpose for your life, and there is a reason why you are the way you are, and there's a reason why you have the story that you have, because you're going to impact a plethora of communities and countries and continents and people that you would have never reached if you would have never experienced what you experienced. But first we have to get into that space of, okay, how can I use this suffering, this pain that I have? How can I use this to serve? How can I use this to make a difference? How can I use this? Because we are not born for ourselves. We are not born just for our own. We're here for our community. We're here for our world, our planet. We're here for something. And that's why there are people who feel like they're called to certain things, and others who don't understand why certain people will stand up for other things. Like, I don't get that. I don't get that struggle. I don't get why you care about that. But that's not your purpose. That's not how the universe designed you to be. They didn't position your heart that way. They positioned it a different way, to care about another cause, right? Because there are so many people here, but to some point, we can't all agree on everything, because there's so many things in this world that need to be worked out. And so we need many hands on, right? And so, like it says, there's a scripture that says, there's a lot of work in the vineyard, but there are not many workers. And what we need is more unity. And we need to remember that in our purpose, it's not just us being, the pioneers, but it's also us being in unity with like-minded people in order to move and shift things in a way that we could create massive change in our world for humans, for the animals, for the land, for the waters, because the earth is screaming for people to step into their purpose, because the earth is suffering terribly. And so my thing for you today is to remember that in your suffering, purpose is found, purpose is born. And just like Joseph, he found favor in home, he found favor in jail, he found favor in his slavery, he found favor all the way up until he became the mayor of Egypt. He found favor. And so my point to you is, don't judge your own story, or anyone else's for that matter, based off of where they are right now. Because we never know where we will end up on our journey. We don't know the plans that the Creator has for us. And there are many things in our life that will not make sense until many decades later.